All right. I hope everyone had a good holidays. We're back and taking a look at Transformers Generations Legacy United Rescue Bots Universe Chase, not to be confused with the G1 Throttlebot Chase. But yeah, this is a pretty good figure. This is the first figure that I have that's, kind of from the Rescue Bots universe of characters. They also did do a Medics, which was like a Walgreens exclusive, and they just recently put that up on Hasbro Pulse. So next time I do a big order, I'll probably get that, but I had no luck actually finding it in Walgreens. But yeah, no, this is a really, really nice figure. This is one of the ones I was more excited about from the first wave of Legacy United, just because I thought it looked really good, and it pretty much does not disappoint here. He turns into a nice police car here. The light bar is not a separate piece. It's actually part of the mold. But yeah, no, looks pretty good. Rolls okay. I did find that one of the wheels was like really sticking at first, and that so I had to take it off, and there was like a bit of flash that I had to carve off, but that's probably like a your mileage may vary kind of thing. The back side of it is a little bit unclean in terms of like how the waist piece becomes the back of the car, but that's really a super small nitpick. In terms of the accessories that he comes with a few things here. He comes with these weapons here, which kind of were on the side of his arms in robot mode in the Rescue Bots show. And are these supposed to be like the light bar, actually? Like a transformed version of the light bar? I'm not sure. They are two different sculpts here. This one's more square and this one's more rounded with the studs on the side there. In terms of storage, unfortunately, I assume these are supposed to go on the same side as the corresponding light bar color, but they do just kind of stick onto the side here, which isn't like terrible, but it's not great. It does make the car mode look a little bit less clean, especially because they're not symmetrical, which they're not supposed to be, but whatever. I do kind of wish like they've got really a lot of real estate down here. If they just like put a tab on them somewhere, then they could have just like tabbed in right there, completely clean and underneath. But no one thought that was necessary, so I guess that's how they store. I'm not crazy about it, but I can kind of deal with it. The other weapon that he comes with kind of comes in three parts here. It's this little like Energon claw weapon. So you just plug in these two bits in the front here like that. And you've got a little Energon claw, which obviously is, more for robot mode. And unfortunately, again, the only place to store this is just pegging it on top like that, which just looks bad, I think. So I generally just kind of leave this one off to the side and just leave them with these two. I think that's enough for me. But, like I said, maybe there could have been some way to store it underneath if they tried, but they didn't. So boo, but whatever. Otherwise, it's a pretty nice car mode, so I can't complain too much. I do like the headlights up there with the translucent plastic, but yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, and I said comparisons plural, but that's really the only one I have to show him off with right now since I don't have any other Rescue Bots characters, but that's what they look like together. And then to get onto transformation, you can leave these on if you want. They just kind of stay in the same place on his arms in robot mode. First thing you want to do is take these little parts with the exhaust pipes and just unclip them and flip them up like that. And that allows you to take the arms. They kind of untab from a few places. He's got two little tabs that go over this little bar on the translucent piece, and then this tab goes into that. And then you just want to double hinge them down like that, and then we can rotate them around. Just do that on both sides here. And then we take the entire front of the car, and you kind of have to like let the windshield piece kind of like bend down to get this bit out from underneath here. But then you take the entire front of the car and flip it around like that, which was not something I was expecting when I started, messing with the transformation, and then split the legs. And then it's really actually pretty clever how his legs work, because at first I was kind of worried that there would be like a cheated headlight section when I saw it, but those are actually on his foot in robot mode. What is sort of kind of a cheat is that, it feels like it's sort of implied like the front grill is the front of his foot in robot mode, but actually it's this section that kind of just is sculpted like the front grill, which granted is not painted, but it has some really weird tricks to get those, kind of around each other. Basically, you take the little headlight section and fold it up like that. You take this section and fold it out. That's actually going to be his heel. And then the foot actually untabs from the side and flips around like this. And then you kind of take this armature, double hinge it in like this onto the back of the leg, and then take this section with the wheel and then wrap it around and then clip it into place like that, and then rotate the leg forward, which is a really neat transformation. But you can see what I'm saying here is it kind of feels like this grill is implied to be this, but that's not actually, where it goes. They're completely different parts, which I can deal with. But yeah, no, that's a really neat way that actually ends up reshaping the leg like that. So we'll just do that, of course, on both sides here. And there we have his legs all done. And then last but not least, you just take this section and then you just rotate it down. It usually does it by itself and kind of pushes this panel up just by kind of pulling it past the head. And there's no paint on this side of his head, so you're not really worried about scratching anything. But you just take this down, tab it into place, and then close that panel back up. And there we have Chase in his robot mode. And yeah, no, I think he looks really good. They did a really nice blend here of kind of blending the Generation style with the more sort of like cartoony rescue bot style. I think that it's a pretty good balance on the head sculpt there. But yeah, in terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so it can rotate around like that. Gets a little bit of like up and down wiggle, not so much side to side. The shoulders, unfortunately, are the kind of like backwards hinge shoulders where the rotation is at the shoulder and then the hinge in and out is at the body. So when you rotate his arm forward, you can't actually rotate it out anymore. They can only rotate up and down like this, but I don't know. I feel like he kind of gets away with it. But yeah, so it can rotate forward and back like that and up and down like this. So, you can mess with the shoulders to get in the positions you want, but it's just not as smooth as it could be. He's got a bicep swivel, about 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. His wrists can bend inward for some reason. I thought for sure when I opened him up that was just a transformation step, but that's not used for the transformation. So I don't really know why that is, but whatever. Not a problem or anything. He's got a waist cut. He's got those nice hips where the hip skirt is actually part of the leg, so you can rotate it forward like that. Back only about that far before it runs into this piece here and out to the side. He's got a thigh swivel, about 90 degrees of bend at the knee, maybe a degree or two more. And then the ankles can tilt in about that far and they can tilt out a lot. So I guess if you really wanted to, you could like flip this around like this. So that was his front section and do it like this. So the wheels are on the inside, then he'd have a bit more outward ankle tilt, but I don't think that's really worth the sacrifice of that looking worse. So, just something you could do potentially, but I think it looks better as it is. And he's got enough ankle tilt, even though it's not a ton. So yeah, decent articulation. I think the shoulders are the one kind of bummer part about him, but even then it's like, we've seen that before. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's just a bit annoying. And then he does have these back flaps back here, which sometimes run into the arms. And I said this when we first got the reveal of this guy too, but there's something about the image of this that really reminds me of another figure that might be like foreshadowing what he's pre-tooling into, but I just cannot for the life of me figure out what it is. There's just something about the way this backpack is that really reminds me of something, and I cannot figure out what. But yeah, I don't know. I've seen, in terms of other things that this mold might be used for, I've seen some speculation that it might be used for like a Prime Universe cliff jumper, because the car mode is fairly similar and a lot of the parts end up in similar spots, even though the headlights don't end up on the waist piece. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. And I could definitely see that being a thing. I think that this would be a decent mold use for that character, but I don't know. There's something back here that I can't quite put my finger on, but it really reminds me of something. So let me know if you've got any ideas in that regard. But yeah, obviously, in terms of his weapons, you can leave them on his arms here, kind of like they were in the show. You could, unpeg them and actually have him hold these. I think that looks okay as well. They all are also, like 5mm compatible on like the actual blaster. So you could do something like that. It's really more for blast effects, but if you found some clever way to use those for something, then they've got that versatility. And then in terms of the weapon here, you could have him like just like fold his hand in. Maybe that's why they do that, and actually have him hold it like that, but that doesn't like really look good. What you're really supposed to do is actually just like slide it around his hand, which, granted, maybe that's again why that is, so you can kind of bend the claw in, but Again, not super necessary, but yeah, you've got the little claw hand there. And then because it is three separate pieces, you could take these off and have him, hold these as some sort of tool or something, some sort of hooks or whatever. And then you could also, use this part for other like Evo Fusion stuff and peg other things into it. It's just making it a little bit more versatile, but I don't know that it's, strictly speaking necessary. And then unfortunately, there's also really just nowhere to store it in robot mode either, unless you're just like, I mean, you could just like peg it onto the shoulder or something like that. I guess that's not so bad. You could peg it onto the side of his leg. It's not terrible, but unfortunately, the peg hole on the back of on his back here, you kind of can't get in between these sections enough to actually peg that in, unfortunately. So, I don't really know. I don't really like the way that this weapon was executed necessarily, but what can you do? But yeah, in terms of comparison, singular in this mode, here he is again with Kingdom Sideswipe, just so you can see how he stacks up with an average size deluxe. Pretty much just right eye to eye, top of the head. They're pretty much exact same size there. So pretty decently sized deluxe. But yeah, no, I really like this figure. I think he's probably my favorite of the first wave of Legacy United in terms of the deluxes, but really, all three of the ones that I've gotten have been pretty decent. And the cores are all right. They're not quite as good as I was expecting them to be, but they're fine. We'll take a look at those soon, but I think our next video is going to be taking a look at Magnius. I think Magnius, yeah, he's the big one, right? The other deluxe, the deluxe rock guy. So that will be our next video, but for now, that's pretty much all there is to him. A decent figure. I definitely am happy with the way he turned out, even though I've got my little nitpicks here and there. But yeah, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Make sure to check me out on my Instagram account. That's toys.n.art. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Legacy United Rescue Bots Universe Chase.